geçsin Keleman, altın geçsin Keleman, kırma taşsın Keleman, nurdan gelir, yatar kalkar, yavrum da gelir, yatar kalkar hey. Aman boğazında, gümüş halka, turnalar hey. Vacip durmam kom, levrek kestim kom, sade kestim kom, gidelim ovalara kom. Şöyle de Keleman, böyle de Keleman, yürek gelsin Keleman, altın geçsin Keleman, kırma taşsın Keleman, nurlarımızdan adı yeşil, yavrumun kanadı yeşil.
Dark and golden ages, a mosaic of peoples and creeds, civilizations stacked one upon another. Turkey, the sky portrait of 6,000 years. All that is most ancient, much that is new. And now, the acceleration of the 20th century. Even from above, the population explosion is evident. The hill village doubled by a twin township on the next slope, for the workers who go down into the non-stop day and night world of steelmaking. Tomorrow, more young men seeking jobs, more projects demanding steel. So another valley is laid out to absorb the men, to produce the metal. Behind the factories, the ports like Zonguldak, wrested from the waters of the Black Sea to meet today's irresistible imperatives of produce, export, import, produce again, or slip back into the 19th century. New suburbs stalk out over the Anatolian plain, but at least there's room enough. 1.5 times the area of France, Turkey, the third largest NATO nation, is networked by one of the busiest internal airlines in Europe or Asia. The early morning flight from Istanbul descends toward the capital, Ankara, a city far inland that 50 years ago was a half-forgotten citadel 300 miles from electricity. The citadel is still there, but with electricity. At its feet, a new Ankara of 700,000 citizens. Parliament buildings and technical institutes, universities and theaters, apartments, office blocks, hotels and boulevards. All this because one man persuaded his people to make it so. Kemal Ataturk, father of all Turks, rests now in a sober monument of stone above the city he willed into existence. After 20 hectic years as one of the most radical reformers in the history of man, he lies in state, guarded and revered. His memory and his precepts dominate life in his country, and his city still grows. Skyscrapers marking the beat of an economy now reaching far beyond even his dreams. But some policies have changed not at all since the beginning of the revolution he led in 1922. Like his insistence that progress can only be made behind a defensive shield, a lesson not forgotten today.
servisler Türk Hava Yolları'nın Trabzon Samsun'dan beklenen ve son bir sefer servislere alanında ilgilidir. Esenlikle 4 şehir arasından Zeral Bostan Namı, Marifan, Trabzon Samsun'dan.
Flight TK-106 has this morning brought to Ankara a typical cross-section of Turkish men and women. Engineers and teachers, pilots and bankers, army officers, legislators, and students. Almost all graduates of the educational system that Ataturk began as the foundation of his reforms. An intellectual revolution so profound that it went to the very roots of language, to a new Latin alphabet, imposed in place of the beautiful but impractical script of the sultans. Modern posters and graphics and the international bookshops make it difficult to realize that only 40 years ago, most Turks could read only the archaic scripts. As though to record this change forever, the gateway to Istanbul University reads both old and new. It stands close by the venerable Süleymaniye Mosque and its madrasa, or school, for centuries a center of Quranic teaching. But today, only a backdrop, but a magnificent backdrop, for thousands of young undergraduates who take the sun and study their textbooks on the university terrace. Around 50,000 students are enrolled each year in Turkish universities and technical institutes. In its time, the most startling Ataturk reform was the emancipation of women. All professions are now open to them. Thousands are lawyers and teachers, doctors and engineers, or scientists, like this physicist. She works in the laboratories of the National Nuclear Research Center a few miles from Istanbul, where an atomic pile is being recharged with nuclear fuel elements.
13'e koyuyoruz. Evet. 13 yükleniyor.
Tamam.
Tamam. Tuğ çıkartılıyor. Tuğ uzaklaştırıldı.
TR-1 goes critical today. Water in the cooling tanks must be checked for radioactivity, a responsible job. Women are also in Parliament, and many have held top positions in the administration. Parliament meets under Ataturk's reminder that sovereignty belongs without reservation to the people. But the people, as he knew, must be educated to become citizens. In the nation's system of universal education, history is emphasized.
Bunların en önemli eserlerinden.
It begins 6,000 years ago with the Hittites and the buried treasure they left in Anatolia. Children learn of the Hellenists and their colonies, spread first along the Mediterranean and later inland. Turkey is rich in ancient cities like Pergama, crowning a hilltop near Izmir, with its great theater scooped out of the steep slopes. Pergama is Roman as well as Greek, and students learn how one civilization fused with the next. At Side on the south coast, Romans built the first artificial harbor in history, and successive cities were built and destroyed on the same site, the last by massive earthquakes.